Many thanks for staying with us on Village Square Africa. Now, at least 14 of the 36 states in Nigeria are predicted to experience torrential rain, which will lead to flooding in communities and large farmlands. Authorities have said that floods could occur between the 13th of September and 17th across identified states. Now, recall that in June of 2022, over 300 people were killed in separate flood-related incidents, 100,000 people displaced, and 500,000 affected across the country. And the government is still trying to ensure that such situation does not repeat itself. Well, my guests on the show today are Deji Akinpelu, a co-founder of Rethinking Cities, Lagos. We also have Umar Saleh Anka, the UNFCCC designated national focal point for HCRFF USA. Thank you so much, Deji and Umar, for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. Now, we are made to understand that those surrounding the rivers Niger and River Benue are more at risk because of the body of water that are there. But at least 15 other states have also been warned to evacuate their places immediately. Can we confirm the certainty of these warnings? All right, Deji, do you want to go first?
Okay, yeah. These warnings come from time to time. It's not pretty much something that is new. Although we also need to improve our systems in getting accurate information and all of that. But most importantly, you had also mentioned the effect about 300 people died on the last major one that we had, according to NEMA. And then, of course, the effect goes on and on, particularly in terms of food security, the impact that all this is having on farmers. I recently visited Dambata in Kano, and all these events are seriously affecting them in terms of food production. I also visited a community in Cross River State. I'm trying to remember the name. The livelihood is seriously affected. Lives have been lost. In terms of housing, people are losing their houses. And this calls for a whole lot of concern. And the question I begin to ask whenever all these early warning signs come out is to question and ask, what is the preparedness to help the affected people in this region? What have we conducted in terms of assessment and profiling of the communities, and what is going to be the emergency response when when the floods do come? It is not enough for you to alert people and to say, okay, leave the coastal regions. Is that not just enough? You need to also begin to plan how you're going to support the people when all this happens.
All right, thank you so much for that, Deji. I will come to you, Umar, but before we do that, I'd like to introduce our third guest for today, Ibrahim Fariloye, Coordinator, Lagos Territorial Office, NEMA. Thank you so much, Ibrahim, for joining us.
Good afternoon, Umar. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to have you join us. Now, Umar, back to you. Most people in these areas that we talk about may not exactly be willing to just up and leave, mainly because there are no alternatives. So are there like makeshift camps that have been made available for situations like this? Because you can't just ask someone to leave their houses without them having somewhere else to go. Or is it like an every man for himself situation?
Oh, thank you. You cannot ask me that. I would just say that should have been channeled to the NEMA person. But what you've seen, there's no camp that these people are supposed to know. We know, of course, there are conventional camps naturally in our areas, but that's the problem. We as an advocate, we normally preach that government should be more proactive than just waiting for conventional policy to be taking place in such a situation, because this has always been the case. Consistently, we have seen issues of flood right from 1963, I think Ibadan consistently has been going on and on. So I think there should be these camps available enough to contain those people. Or
All right.
when you talk about the resettlement plan should be conducted.
Okay, Umar, we're having a bit of issues hearing you, and I think it's connected to your earphones. So if you can please take out your earphones and reset. But you do have a point, and I should have channeled that question to Ibrahim Fariloi, the coordinator for NEMA. So Ibrahim, here goes the question. Now, I was asking Umar if there were makeshift camps that are available for these people, because in situations like this, when you ask people to evacuate their homes, it's not like they have alternative houses somewhere that they can just up and leave to. So are there makeshift camps available for these people in the different regions across Nigeria?
Well, before I attend to the camping system, just like what Mr. Deji was trying to state, that it is not just enough to give an alert. The National Emergency Management Agency, as early as January, has been coordinating activities in preparedness for this year's wet season. It has encouraged all river basins across the country to, one, monitor the level of water they have for dry season farming. And they had to release most of the water from the dam in preparation for the current rainy season. And between January to April, a lot of water were released from various dams across the country. So it's one of the preparation, and the NEMA agency mandated its zonal, territorial, and operational office to convoke a meeting, joint meeting, and of assessment and profiling of various communities that are exposed to experience further disasters this year, flood incidents this year. And this was done, especially in Lagos. We identified 25 communities, and these communities were taken to the next level of government, which is the state government. And the Ministry of Environment attention were drawn to this before even the commissioner, before the election started. And when the attention of the ministry was drawn to it, the ministry swung into action, and they confirmed that yes, there have been there have been issues in the past, but fortunately, they worked on it. And as of this Monday, some of the community members, they called confirming that the effort by the state government in clearing drainages, expanding the canals, and embankment was added. Embankments were added to some of these canals to prevent overflow of excess water from the canal into the community. So we are now only waiting to release alerts. Aside from that, the new government that set in most of the state governors that are new in the system, NEMA had to meet the State Council of the National Council of States to enlighten the states on what is on ground, that there is no room for us to transit from one government to the other. All hands must be on deck. As they've got in May 29, already we have been having issues then. Aside from meeting them at the Council of State level, they met the agency met with, they had to carry out advocacy visit to each state and telling them the peculiarity of their state on what needs to be done by the state and local government authority. Some of the local governments, because the major gap we observe, the local government structure is not existing, and most of the problems that needs to be solved are to be done by the local government. These have been handled. Coming to the camping system, we have more than 8 different systems of camping. The closed camp is what people are always talking about. One that we must know, some people may refuse to go into camping and prefer to go and stay in their relatives and family members or friends members. It is the global standard that wherever anybody chooses to go and stay out of danger and they are more comfortable in that place, it is mandatory for emergency workers or humanitarian workers to take services to them. And mostly in the southern part of the country, most of them don't like to go to camp, and that is what we do. We have connections with them along Ikorodu, Aziz, the Ogun River Dam, the lowland.
Okay, Ibrahim, apologies for interrupting. I would just like to really chip this in there very quickly. Now, you mentioned that regardless of where they choose to stay, whether with family and friends, it is the responsibility of NEMA to reach out to them with aid. But do we have an effective census system? And by that, I mean a proper head count where you know every single person that has been affected, and then you reach them with the aid. Because a lot of times we only hear of, people who are helped in the camps, and a lot of times we don't even hear about people who are staying with siblings or family members and all. So do we have a proper system?
When you talk of camping system, it's a different scenario from having an actual census or not head count. Whoever is in danger will be ready to submit itself for necessary enumeration and assistance given to them. So they are always ready. We have various systems of reaching out to them. We have community development associations. When they are in this situation, they are ready to come and assist their people. The traditional institutions, we make use of them. And mostly we have a system, on a strict basis, we take count of them. Oh, this community, like a lady community, like this along Ikorodu Road. We have all of them. We have records of them. And when they are leaving their houses, they get in touch. Oh, we are moving to so area, and we reach out to them.
All right, thank you so much, Ibrahim, for that. Now, Deji, very quickly, let's look at the economic impact that this is going to have if at all there is a flood eventually. Looking at the fact that we already have a bit of challenge when it comes to our economy, especially with the removal of fuel subsidy and the concurrent rise in prices of goods. What exactly are we expecting in terms of the impact it's going to have on our economy as a country?
It has adverse effect on our economy as a country, clearly. Like I tried to mention the other time, food, in terms of food production, a whole lot of people are in these areas are farmers. And when this flood actually comes, it just takes away the farmlands and including their houses and food. So livelihood, there's a massive loss of livelihood across the nation by these actions. But I would like to just quickly react to the comments by the state NEMA officer. I think part of the challenges we're also having is tokenistic acts. He mentioned about 25 communities in the entire coastal region of Lagos. I don't know, maybe there's more, but maybe he meant more. But 25 profiling, I don't think it's pretty much adequate. And 25 being profiled. And also, what about the data? Can we have open data in terms of the activities of our government agencies and to say, okay, what did you find on ground? Let us begin to see in practical terms where we can. I'm on the NEMA website. Can I click on Lagos and say, okay, this is the report about the 25 communities, and this is what we've discovered, this is what is coming, this is what the engagement that has been done. Yes, Lagos State government has embarked truly on some drainage service, drainage clearing, canal clearing in recent times. But like he clearly mentioned himself, where we also have this issue is local government. There's also a role that local government plays in this. You know, the in-poor coordination between federal, state, and local government is responsible for some of these issues that we're experiencing right now. The inability for state governments to harness the proper technical know-how and the financing to address these issues happens to be a very, very, very big problem. Sorry for the slight digression, but I just needed to point that out.
All right.
But back to your question, definitely we're going to have a whole lot of, with what is going on, it has a whole lot of economic impact. If I also maybe have to profile a solution, is that we need to begin to look at more climate-friendly agricultural practices to help our farmers. We also need to begin to look at agricultural insurance in terms of what role can that play by providing support to farmers and then also improving on their farming system. This will be able to cushion the economic effect. Also, in terms of another very big economic effect that I mentioned also is in terms of housing. A whole lot of these states that you have mentioned, they actually have more houses along these coastal areas. How do you reconstruct? What is the building prototype that can be introduced into those communities to actually mitigate or adapt to this effect? Thank you.
Okay, very quickly, Umar. Now, we know that all of these can be attributed to the issue of climate change. And it's already a known fact that we as a nation need to take issues into our own hands, regardless of the fact that we're the least contributors and we suffer it the most. I mean, that's a song we've been singing for a long time. So in terms of climate financing, what do you think can be done? What are the things that you think the government can put into consideration to help cushion the effect of climate change?
So the issue of climate financing has always been a challenge now because one, we're discussing issue of loss and damage, which has been discussed at COP since COP 26 to 27, where in Egypt countries have made resolution that they will bring out money to support this kind of a thing on the issue of loss and damage. For the people that lost their farmlands, an issue of energy, because when you're discussing issue of flooding, loss of livelihood, some money needs to be put in place where Nigeria is a signatory to all these agreements. And that now that Nigeria has a council on climate change, we have a Deji where issue of climate financing is now taking climate financing is taking a serious direction. So we are moving forward in Nigeria and Africa towards climate financing, but it's not enough because most of the countries that are contributing largely in terms of climate change, they are not up and doing on to their meeting up with their obligations, where the promises that they made are not being fulfilled. The money agreed to be paid into the joint agreement has not been effective. So we don't know. We are looking at what will happen in COP28 to see that if these promises, after evaluation, to see that countries, especially Nigeria, with the most populated, which is the most populated country in Africa, will put more money on the budget of climate financing.
All right, thank you so much, Umar. And with this, we have come to the end of the show. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Deji Akinpelu, co-founder of Rethinking Cities Lagos, Umar Saleh Anka, UNFCCC designated national focal point of HCRFF in the USA. And also, last but not the least, Ibrahim Fariloye, coordinator, Lagos Territorial Office of NEMA. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making this very insightful and informative as well. Thank you. Hoping to see you again on the show some other time.
Thank you.